Herzlich willkommen auf der Bühne, Daniel Höhnke.
I'd like to welcome the CEO of Pixup, Daniel Höhnke. Can you hear me? Right. Dominic, thank you very much for your flattering words of introduction. Today I picked out a topic that's been keeping me busy extremely for more than a year, and it's good to see that Shopware has welcomed the idea, embraced the idea. It's the chatbots. Against the backdrop of AI, artificial intelligence, the buzzword as such, flavor of the month, and it plays an essential role in this context. Stefan actually said it at the very beginning in his keynote. E-commerce is set to change very much in the near future. I'd like to elaborate on this idea, and my goal for this presentation is to shed some light on how e-commerce is going to change, to put some more flesh on the bone, and I'd like to explain how the technology of chatbots can have a major difference, may make a difference in e-commerce. But let's try to get a level playing field or be on the same page, all of us. What's a chatbot? It's a dialogue system, in simple words, between a man or woman and a machine, either on the basis of text, the typical example being a Facebook Messenger, like a platform, and in future probably also WhatsApp. I suppose it's not going to take very long anymore. Or on a language or speech level. On stage we had a topic on Alexa integration too. This is about digital speech assistants. The two large ones are Alexa and the Rule Assistant, or even Siri, but only up to point. I am very much of an Apple supporter, so it hurts my soul, but still. Anyway, just to tell you where the journey goes, what's possible, etc. Some of you might have seen it before or heard of it. Last week, Google had their own dedicated conference on a similar topic, and for almost any product of Google, they've now attached AI. There's artificial intelligence in all of them. And Google is quite a leader worldwide, even before Amazon in technological terms, when it comes to speech understanding, speech intelligence. And last week they introduced a tool, and last year we thought that it would take us 3 or even 5 years for such a development. And Google managed within 1 year, or even less than a year, to provide a conversation on speech level whereby a human being doesn't notice that they're talking to a machine. Let me show you how it works.
Maschine.
This is the machine.
Das ist Wahnsinn.
It's crazy. Google has achieved this, and the Google Assistant feature is going to be rolled out in English-speaking countries to dock onto existing models, such as, for example, booking an appointment at the hairdresser's, booking a table at a restaurant. You take your mobile and say, "Hey Google, please book a table at restaurant so-and-so at this or that point in time for so-and-so many people." I put down the receiver of my mobile, and it's just entered into my calendar by Google. It's all automatic. But this is just to whet your appetite for what we're going to see very, very soon, because for Google this is a field test. They're simply throwing it out in the field on a relatively simple basis in order to achieve their actual goal, that is to do things the other way around. As a person, I call a shop, for example, because I have a question. And there's nobody sitting there, but this technology will replace human beings, ensuring 24/7 service availability. Maybe in 5 years or 10 years, maybe earlier, but it's bound to come. And it's going to feel just about like what we've seen. The market is set to change, and this is not funny anymore. It's not my phrase. A colleague of mine has said it. Actually, I wanted to say something a bit rougher, really. But why is that so? Well, the front end, if I'm asking you what do you mean by front end, many of you in the shopware world will think of a tablet or a mobile display or a desktop display, whatever. This is unfortunately still the de facto standard today. Well, you know that these are not shopware stores, absolutely, and I've done this deliberately. You don't know who's walking about here, but the shopware world might look even similar. Stefan said we have about 80,000 shopware stores out there. Well, let's be fooled. Many of them are like this. They're made without care. I always tell people not just to be retailers, but they have to understand that they're also technology entrepreneurs as soon as you operate an online business. It's a bit difficult for many of them, but the problem is that technological evolution and revolution, that is, the launch of smartphones was a revolution that changed our market drastically. And these things are not going to happen every 5 or 10 years in future, but much more frequently, maybe even several times a year. But what's going to happen with shops that haven't paid attention to these fast-lived trends? Well, they're going to leave us. Sorry, I had to click on this twice. Please bear in mind the front-end term. What's actually changing at the moment? I think Stefan has addressed the topic or touched upon it briefly. We haven't agreed on this or anything. It's just an incidental overlap. The front-end topic, this is where you sell. So it's quite essential. Now, if you look at the front end as per today, it's really this. It's a desktop or a tablet and a smartphone display. Everybody who knows shopware knows that these are the shopping worlds. Well, that's the whole fun of it. Now, let's add the chatbot component, that is interaction with a system, with a machine. Shopware can be a machine in this context, and a client. What would a front end look like then? And all of a sudden, things change. Well, why is that so? Well, let's start from a simple live chat box in an online chat where you basically still speak to a human being. This is the first step to integrate a chatbot. Does this work actually? Well, only half. Facebook Messenger, 1.2 billion users who've got this on their mobiles. WhatsApp belongs to the same corporation and might be opened up once the Cambridge Analytica thing will be over and done with. There we have a really crass basis for integrating chatbots in a system. But in terms of speech, it's even crasser. Do you know this? Well, it's Amazon Alexa or Google Home with the Home Assistant. This is widely spread. But you can even take things further from there. As soon as systems are installed in cars, in headphones. Bose, for example, has only just launched a new pair of headphones where you have chatbot integrated. You might be around and might chat to some kind of service on the internet. What about fridges? One of the most important e-commerce trade fairs was CES in Las Vegas. Why? Well, if you think of this future vision, and look at things like LG, for example, who are using all kinds of household appliances, fridges, microwave ovens, or whatever, with the Google Assistants. This means this is an interface for us to speak to other services. Of course, the front-end topic would be completely redefined, because we wouldn't just concentrate on the 3 devices we're focusing on now. We would concentrate on even more. And that is about to change. The whole technology of chatbots comes into play there. In actual fact, as per today, customers have to become active. They would actively have to say, well, I'm using my mobile, I'll retrieve a URL, and I visit a shop in order to search for something. I might just go to Google and search something. But still, this means that a customer has to be proactive and approach us. Now, turning around the scenario, this means that we can approach the customers. We would be with a shop where customers are. Say, for example, well, if it's a good or bad example, I don't know, but they might be out footing, running, and they've got their headphones on and they can interact with our shop. For example, a confirmation of shipping can be received while they're jogging. And this is a very important point. The users are flooded with new ideas and new options by Google, Amazon, etc. And user behavior is set to change drastically. So every shop will have to ask themselves if they want to be on board. Customer appeal, customer contact today. Well, this might be the absolutely normal case. A customer comes into a shop and sees what all the others see as well. I think you could also call it the boring same stuff. More of the same all the time is also true for many newsletters. Often they're simply released saying, well, here's a new product, here's a voucher. So it's nothing really customized in there. It's not bespoke. So this is the current standard, I would say. It's what you normally get. Segmentation would be the next step of it. Since last year, there's been a specific shop where customers release. Has any of you ever used this proactively? Is there anybody around? Oh, great. Well, you. I knew you would. This cool feature for segmenting customers isn't even used by many people. Even here at the trade fair, many people don't know what this is. And that's a bit of a shame, because this really facilitates a next step, a sea change for approaching customers in a shopping world, on a starting page, on a landing page, in the newsletter, or wherever. But even that is only an interim stage. Today, there's something else that's possible technologically. It's one-on-one, face-to-face communication across all levels. It's always been so much of a problem how to address a customer with something absolutely personal, something that's just targeted towards one person. If you have 5 million customers and you have 10,000 customers every day, so you have high volumes of data to be processed. Well, there are technological solutions or approaches facilitating that, but they're not used yet as much as you could. We've only just had a presentation that is heading right towards this direction. Who of you uses a recommendation engine at the shop? Well, I'm not counting you. It's not many. Well, very, very few. So that means that you serve your customers the same stuff, more of the same every day. You walk into a category and you see just the same as another person who's completely different from you, who has different shopping patterns. And this is where it can manage a turnaround towards the chatbot. A chatbot gives many people the possibility to have face-to-face communication in a very simple manner, as we are on one conversation level. We speak to each other, and that's what's so important at this point. You also have to say that The future of what we're talking about, I've already addressed this briefly. Amazon and Google are thrashing on the market players with their products. They're just flooding the market. Alexa, for example, is so normal. Even my wife has become used not to using the light switch anymore at home, and that is quite a miracle. But anyway, Facebook. In January this year, there were 200,000 chatbots on Facebook. 2 weeks ago at the Facebook conference, the number mentioned was 300,000 active chatbots on Facebook. So it's quite a substantial amount. It's huge. You might, for example, have a quiz at Sparkasse, at a bank, where some kind of underling speaks to somebody who owes you some money. Or last year, for example, there was something from the German army, the Mali bot. You wouldn't have expected that from them. A YouTube series that was supported by Chatbot and supporting everything with great information. It's really cool. This is only possible in the US, but it's only a matter of time for this to be introduced in Germany. Even if this is a bit far-fetched, but we've got a marketplace on Amazon and eBay. But let's think back on face-to-face communication. 1.2 billion people using this. And in the US, you can buy via the messenger. This is possible in the US. So there is a bit of a question mark attached to this, but these are new options that many people haven't actually thought about. The rock stars among the chatbots are Amazon Alexa, of course, as a current market leader, or Google Assistant. The two companies are doing so much to dominate the market, to improve. Every now and then, you hear in the news that Amazon is looking for 500 new engineers just to develop this topic. Google is doing one thing after another, so it's crazy to see what's happening there. When it comes to figures of distribution, there are no official figures from Amazon or Google, but on the basis of app downloads, you could extrapolate. And it is assumed that in Germany alone, there are 1.5 million Echoes, that is, those boxes that are owned by Amazon, those speakers. Most of them last Christmas. You can imagine that this might actually be pushed even further during the next Christmas period. So worldwide, you should believe that the number is about 25 million sold of Echoes. Google Assistant, or Google Home rather, Google's counterpart, hasn't sold so well, probably because it hasn't had such a massive range from a sales point of view as Amazon. But in Q4 17, they globally sold 6.5 million of them. But they still have an ace up their sleeve. They've got the Google Assistant on any bloody device that works with Google. A few months ago, that used to be 400 million devices, and now, at the Google I/O, they said it was 500 million devices, TV sets, any Android mobile, or most of them at least. I'm still an Apple user. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's beyond belief how widely spread Google Assistant is. And in terms of marketing, etc., they're catching up substantially with Amazon and with what they'd done in the previous years. Digital speech assistants have already written history. Why? Well, the average spread of growth when the tablets came out was 20% in the first 5 years. Smartphones, 250%. This was really smashing. It came like a bomb. But ever since there's been smart speakers, Alexa and Google Assistant, they've grown by 600%, and this is completely unstoppable, it seems. Let me now speak about the functionalities a bit. How does this thing work? I'm not going to speak so much about technological features, and I'll try to keep it as simple and sweet as possible. We've got intentions and entities, which might sound a bit abstract to you now. This above is an intention. A user wants something. They give us a sentence, a phrase, Just like I'm looking for sneakers black in size 13. And that is the intention the chatbot has to work with. And in order to be able to work with this is segmented into entities, this phrase. You will hear this term more and more often, so I'm going to ride it. Entities might be sneakers. This is a category in our shop. Black, a filter value. Variant group or option is the size, and then the value of this option, 48 in continental Europe or 13 in English-speaking countries. So this gives you the basis for conclusions in order to provide the user with an answer, because we know what they're searching for. What they're doing is that they're accessing shop data, and this is something you need to bear in mind. The intention is what the users give you, and entities are part of that intention. Artificial intelligence, I've said before, this is the buzzword per se at the moment. Why? Well, to date, in chatbots and Facebook, everything was rule-based. There was no rocket science behind it, but it was just if, then. And if you just leave the phrases by a little bit, you've lost. At chatbots, you have a sub-form of artificial intelligence, machine learning, the horror of everybody who likes the basic regulation on data protection, the new one in the EU. We have got a different phrasing here for Facebook. We've got one model, we want to display sneakers, and the user approaches us in a completely different manner. They might use different words or whatever. And this machine learning model is where various terms, various intentions are merged. The bot is trained for this one model, improving little by little by little. This way being able to recognize things more and more easily. And this where it comes to speech detection, speech recognition. Speech recognition has become really good on the grounds of this technological basis, but it's not perfect yet. But it's becoming better and better all the time because machine learning models are becoming better all the time as well. Chatbots in Shopware.
Wäre schon cool. Wir haben uns einfach mal gedacht.
Well, we thought if we discuss chatbot, then we have to subdivide it in 3 different areas which could be relevant for Shopware. But we know that every shop has its specifics. Product-based intentions, for example, could play a major role here. We mentioned the sneakers, and here again, it comes to subdividing our groups into entities, and at the end, we have an individual list, which is the result, because we have collected all relevant information on a customer. We have all the values that we need. We can retrieve them from the shop. We can copy them. We can choose the products, and we can present the offers to him just as if you used a search engine, or we would recruit a consultant customized to a customer. And we all have a product streamer, a dynamic product streamer. I hope that you are all familiar with this tool and can choose all the products implementing Ryanair-enabled travel bags. So the one who presents a request can then receive all the necessary products which comply with the criteria Ryanair enabled. Customer service. Well, this, of course, seemingly could be the best area to use customer focus, because here it is easy to do. You know your FAQs, even if you don't know the customer personally. You can implement all these FAQs in your chatbot. And thus, a major part of the requests, which would usually end up in the support department, can be covered by using the chatbot. someone asking, when will I receive my my shipment? When will my order be processed? For the shop operator, it is easy. You have the FAQs, and then you go to the support department and you tell the guys, well, tell me what are the current requests arriving here every day? How can we automate this process? And on the basis of today's technology, 30 to 40% of all customer requests in the e-commerce can be answered on the basis of a chatbot. If, for once, the chatbot doesn't know the answer, that might happen when someone, for example, asks for the weather, then it is possible that the chatbot will say, wait, I can transfer your request to a human being. And of course, we do not want to play with the customer. We do not want to do as if a human being was there instead of the chatbot. That would be a lie. In marketing, you can also use a chatbot. This is a simple example. Individual customer address. We are able to interact with a customer. We can address him actively in the shop, in the Facebook Messenger, for example. We can trigger something. We can attract his attention. You all know these pop-ups. It seems to be quite cool that when you want to leave a shop, then a newsletter pop-up pops up. And you can customize that with a very personal address to your customer. And then voucher management is another important aspect, or awards. You want to keep your customers, you want to win new customers, and for doing that, it is important to have extensive knowledge on your customers' needs. What is also quite cool, you all know what a newsletter looks like and that it serves for marketing purposes. But on the basis of a chatbot, you can even go further. You can have Facebook broadcasting. That means in a planned or automated way, you can get into contact with your customer via the Facebook Messenger. And thus you can reach even more important potential because there is no spam filter. A Facebook Messenger is, well, here on my iWatch. And whenever I get a message, I know it at once because there is a push functionality. For most push services, that is not possible. And of course, people do not want to have newsletters all the time. The huge potential would be making that possible via the Facebook Messenger too, but this is in your responsibility. Further examples, how can we address the customer? We can move forward in an automated way, but it is always personalized. It is a one-to-one customer address. Everything related to a chatbot is subscribing to the fact that we want to act as individually as possible. We all know that it is incredibly important to use 150 plugins in your shop. The community store makes it possible. But if you do it the right way, then it is very important to see to it that functionalities that you have put into the shop are also made available via the chatbot. For example, a store locator from Net Inventors. There is a standard plug-in even for a retail component that you have in your shop. And the intention here is quite clearly that a customer could ask you, where is the next shop? How can I get to you physically? This has to be guaranteed, and this works via the entities about which we have discussed a minute ago. The major problem, or the biggest technical challenge that we have to face for the time being when developing these systems, is a multi-step conversion. It is not simply what we have had so far, that, hey, chatbot, please tell me what about the order processing for the time being. Multi-step means that the customer might ask, what is the shipping cost? And the chatbot can't give you the answer because what is the destination country? And then the customer will say, well, France. And then we have a look again at the shipping cost list for France, and then the corresponding answer can be found. So some kind of proactivity, some gimmicks, some kind of entertaining stuff within the communication have to be enabled, because a very rigid communication that you often have in an e-commerce shop is not necessary and not desired. Well, challenges concerning voice assistants. Just imagine that you have a new supplier. Last week, you started the cooperation, you received 1,000 new products, you put them into the shop, you have Alexa skill, and someone asks Alexa, well, what is new at shop XY? And then potentially there are new products, 1,000 new products that we can read out to him. But that is nonsense. No one will listen to 1,000 products being named. And at this point, it is indispensable that you have an adequate recommendation engine in the background, because then we know that the customer will ask this question, I have a look at these new 1,000 products, and then I know which are the 3 products out of these thousands which might fit best for this customer. And this is the maximum number. These are the 3 products that I'm going to present to the customer. On a Facebook device, on a Facebook Messenger, I could say, well, okay, this is the link, and you will see all the new products. Just an example. The future. We have seen that already. Human bots is something which is going to be one of the utmost important challenges in the future. Google even says so. The use of artificial intelligence in our society will have the same impact, or even a most important impact, than the use of electricity or the steam engine. When dealing with this topic and when identifying all these opportunities to seize in the future, then if we all agree and if we all are aware that this is a major wave which is going to flood us and which will hit us positively or negatively in e-commerce, then we have to ask ourselves what we can do today, how do we have to address this topic, and how can we use AI? Front end of tomorrow will be chatbot driven. Something else that will come, but not for the time being because it doesn't work yet, are the so-called BI bots. Well, you might imagine a lot of things when talking about the BI bots, but what is it in practical life? You, as a shop operator, you encounter the challenge that whenever you use a chatbot system, it is quite time-consuming at the very beginning. Well, you have to go to the customer service department asking the guys there what is happening all the day. You have to define the intentions. You have to define the listings to issue. And for the time being, it is a human being to do that. Well, apart from the links you use. But dispatching and listing, that is done by a human being. So in a near future, we are discussing about less than 5 years, independently from the data protection regulation. Well, in a chatbot system, you will have to collect all data you have, and this KI or NPI system behind will help you to analyze independently data on the fly. Information will be generated in the system the very moment information is needed. And there is voice dispatching too in a parallel way, and this will be automated. This will come. We need big data for that, but most of you have collected data already. Every online shop has big data available. Well, this leads me to philosophy. And my colleagues can tell you that I love philosophy, and they don't like whenever I talk about that. But the future can be predicted in the best way when you shape it by yourself. So you have to ask yourself, what is going to happen in the future? What do I want to see in the future, and how can I contribute to it? There will always be someone in the conference telling you, oh shit, Amazon, I don't like them. They really drive me crazy. Amazon, in fact, is providing services that you yourself cannot provide. With a view to the 3 shops that we have seen, no one wants to go and buy products there because it is absolutely not emotional what you are doing there. So you really have to ask yourself how you can implement new ideas in your company. This leads me to the end of my presentation. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask them. We have still 5 minutes available, so feel free to ask your questions. You can also write an email. This is not an advertising event here, and we are just working on such a new system. And if you would like to have information on that, then please don't hesitate. We have an email address available, and I will stay here for the rest of the day, also for the dinner event, where we will have some fantastic drinks. So please feel free to ask your questions now.
Ich habe ein Mikro, also wenn ihr
Well, there is a microphone available. Are there any questions? He would like to know where the demo version is. The guys from Amazon, they were here yesterday for the sound check. And without internet or without using the internet here, then this is not possible with the demo version. But if you would like to see one, please tell me, and we can do that together. Thank you very much, Daniel Höhnke.